Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have the final figure from the new run of Playmates Godzilla figures. I was able to get a hold of and review the Gorosaurus quite a ways back, but I wasn't able to find the Rodan until just recently, so we now finally have Rodan here, and although it's been out for a little while, I know there were many people that were requesting Rodan get reviewed if I could find it, so now that I have found it, we are here to review it. And as you can see, the actual figure looks really nice, much better than anything that the Playmates line was producing a ways back as far as these Godzilla figures. Like, they were previously looking basically like straight up Bandai bootlegs, but they now look like Playmates has put forth a little more effort, and it definitely looks like a much nicer figure as far as this Rodan goes in comparison to anything that Playmates had released prior. If we take a look down here, you can see that we have Godzilla here for the main logo moving across, although obviously it's Rodan, but he's from the Godzilla franchise. And you can also see that we have Rodan 1956, which shows you exactly which version of Rodan we have here to take a look at. And then here on the back, we have the other newer Playmates figures that are currently out, which are Jet Jaguar, the Burning Godzilla. We also have the Rodan we're looking at right now, and Gorosaurus, which that Gorosaurus is like one of the coolest releases ever. I just really wanted a Gorosaurus in my collection for years and years since I was a kid, and I'm so happy to finally have one thanks to Playmates. Now, I'll keep my fingers crossed that they just want to get really obscure and create a Varan figure, and I will be beyond excited because I would love to have one of those, or even a Titanosaurus actually. Please, Playmates, make Varan and Titanosaurus. But again, I have reviewed all of these now in the past aside from Rodan, so let's pop this out of the box and go straight to a closer look right now. So looking at the Rodan, honestly, they did do a pretty good job on the likeness of Rodan, even having that kind of derpy look to Rodan, the way that Rodan did look back then. And it overall looks pretty nice from a detailing standpoint, which is a huge plus. So if we start up here at the head, you can see that it does sport some very nice detailing to the head sculpt of our Rodan. Beautifully textured throughout the course of the face. Very nice goldish coloration that they've used here as far as the beak and the kind of crests sticking out of the back of the head of Rodan. Super smooth transition between the brown leading out to both of those areas, and I guess the glossiness kind of helps those areas stand out. I'm not a huge fan of the glossy type of a look, but it definitely looks decent, I guess. More of like a metallic type of a look, I would say, but it definitely helps the figure to stand out. I can definitely say that for sure. You can see the nostrils sculpted out up there. The detailing there of the beak also looks really quite nice. The eyes are actually tough to see, but they're painted only with a black, which in my opinion isn't that great, but the figure's eyes are like almost like hard to see, so it doesn't take away from the figure all that much at the same time. It would have looked a little nicer if we had some more paint application in the eyes, but at the same time, it's not the end of the world. It just would have looked nicer if maybe like the eyes were white and then we had black pupils or something. I definitely feel like it could have made it look a bit more appealing, but still it's not quite as bad as what we were seeing from Playmates not long ago. You can see the tongue is sculpted out inside the mouth and also nicely painted with a pinkish tone of color. There kind of appears to be a bit of a glossy look to it as well, which is pretty cool. No gloss coat on the eyes, which definitely would have looked nice, but actually would have made the eyes, I think, look a lot more nice and lifelike, but regardless, it is not present. As you move down the course of the neck, you can see some more really nice texturing to the skin. Lots of wrinkles as you get closer to the body as you move down. Lots of skin wrinkles and stuff. And then down here in the chest region, you can see a very nice rough and rugged looking texturing to the skin here of our Rodan. We also pick up on that goldish coloration, again, that kind of metallic type of a gold that we have here that is super shiny, super glossy, and does again help the figure to stand out, but just wouldn't be my first choice of color for the figure. But you can see that the texturing and everything looks really nice. As you move out into the wings, we continue to have that really nice texturing to the skin. It really does look great. I like how there's a little bit of a difference of appearance between the texturing here and the actual texturing of the skin flap of the wing of our Rodan. Also different down here. It actually almost becomes non-existent as far as texturing goes. Like there's really not much going on at all there. You can also see that the fingers are sticking out up here yet again, painted with that gold that they seem to love, giving it some color difference. And again, the wings look really good. As you move down here into the legs, You can see some more really nice texturing as well as some nice wrinkling moving down the legs, without question showing you the man in the suit type of a look brought out beautifully in the figure. Down here into the foot, you can also see that the toes are nicely sculpted. We also have the nails painted down here with that goldish coloration, yet again, that they are just completely in love with, but the nails do have at least a glossy look now that they've been given that kind of glossy goldish coloration. The wing over here has a much stronger curve. The wing over here is kind of just stretched out a little bit, not too much. It does have a slight curve. This one has a much stronger curve. You can as well see again the fingers are painted with that gold over here. And again, you can see the detailing looks pretty good, even though the wing curves in, you can't really see it all that well. The outer edges of the wings and everything look nice from a detailing standpoint. Again, we have that same style where we have a very different appearance to the texturing of the skin here compared to what we have here, and then down here it's pretty much non-existent as far as the texturing goes. Here on the back of our Rodan, though, you can see that we have a very nice greenish type of a color, like a bluish green here that runs along the back like almost a teal, and then we also have that gold that runs along the spinal column of Rodan. The spinal column is nicely sculpted, very nicely elaborated as far as the way it's shown here, and you lead down into the tail of Rodan, also very nicely textured overall. So a pretty darn nice sculpt, definitely a very good likeness of Rodan from 1956, but of course it could have been a little better. Just honestly, I think they have done a way better job than anything they were producing prior, so even though it's not, in my opinion, as nice as the Gorosaurus, it is still a fantastic looking version of Rodan. As far as articulation on our Rodan goes, that is an area that we really come into some trouble with because we only have the neck. That's it. We can turn the neck, totally can swivel it around, and that's it. We have no articulation in the wings at all. There's no articulation in the legs at all. Nothing anywhere else articulation-wise, which I feel like is a little bit of a downside. Like, there was definitely some potential here that they could have created some pretty cool articulation, but alas, we are left with not much at all. Just one spot, which is what it is, I guess. I mean, I've had Godzilla figures and stuff in the past with even less articulation than that, so I mean, I guess it's not the worst thing ever. But as far as a size goes, for a height, you're looking at about the 6¼ inch range, or about the 16 centimeter area. And for a wingspan in the spot that it's in currently, you're looking at about the, I'd say, a little over 7 inches, or around 18 centimeters there at the bottom of the wing. Seems like probably the widest area. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Gorosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line in comparison to our Rodan, and this Rodan sits right in the same size range as the majority of the other type of Godzilla figures in this, type of size range. They are all usually fairly the same size, and this Rodan does not differentiate itself much from anything previously as far as Godzilla figures go. Pretty much exactly the size you would expect when it comes to a Rodan. Unfortunately, I don't have any of my other Godzillas out currently to compare it with to show you the size in comparison to those, but hopefully these figures here will be a nice stand-in to help show you that, again, it's pretty much your average size as far as these figures go. So this Playmates Rodan figure is definitely a fun figure, and although it's not the best that they've had to offer, which in my opinion would be Gorosaurus or even Jet Jaguar, even though I really don't like Jet Jaguar, but the figure they made was actually pretty good. But again, the Rodan's definitely nice. I think the sculpt is fantastic. They've done a great job of replicating Rodan from 1956, and also they've done a very good job on the fine detailing throughout the course of the figure. So sculpt-wise, it's a really nice version of Rodan. It could look really good if you could acquire one to repaint, because I think the paint is the problem with the figure. I really don't like the gold, glossy, metallic type of a look. Like, that's not the way Rodan really looks. Like, obviously, Rodan had, like, a yellowish beak and kind of like some yellowish tones and stuff in the chest, but it wasn't quite this bright and glossy and weird looking like they have on this figure. Sure, it helps the figure to stand out. Definitely something that would probably catch the attention of any kid walking by and looking at it. It just doesn't look all that great on the figure. It doesn't look all that natural, in my opinion, so it could be improved upon if they had changed it to more of a yellow rather than a gold, but I guess it is what it is. Other than that, we really don't have much else going on color-wise, as the majority of Rodan is nothing more than a brown color, aside from the coloration running down the back, which does look pretty cool, does look pretty flashy on the figure, but again, not a big fan of those kind of metallic, shiny glossy type of paint applications they have for the figure. The tongue's painted, and we also have eyes painted. The tongue looks nice, but the eyes being nothing more than a black is a little boring. It would have been nicer if they would have given it just a gloss coat or something to, snazz it up a little bit, make it look a little more lifelike, but they chose not to do that, so it looks a little flat. It doesn't really look so much like actual eyes, like real eyes. It just looks like some random black paint in the place of where eyes should be. And there's also a strong lack of articulation with the figure, but I mean, it is what it is. Again, these figures aren't always the most highly articulated figures you'll find, so I guess it's kind of to be expected. They had some areas where, like the wings, like they could have found some way to articulate the wings or even the legs just to give it a little bit more, but they really chose to only articulate the neck. So although it's not the greatest Rodan figure, there are definitely some downsides to it. It's still a nice sculpt, so I do really quite like it. There aren't many Rodan figures out there here in the United States that you can usually readily get a hold of. Definitely a fun figure. If I find another one, I'll probably buy it just to repaint to see how nice I could actually get it, because I feel like it could look a lot nicer with a more realistic and natural paint application. So if you are interested, check your local Target. They're a little tricky to get a hold of at times because everybody seems to be snagging them up to scalp online, but I have finally found one, so hopefully you'll find one as well. Just keep checking your local Target, and maybe they'll show up hopefully a little more readily as time goes on, once the scalpers get tired of snagging them up, I guess. So one way or another, definitely a fun figure. Pick it up if you can find it, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.